target enemies offline. That should do it for the Goliaths.
Look out! It's recharging! Ah!
Enemy vibrations are growing in intensity. It's resonating in tandem with the area beneath the combat zone.
Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I want to talk about a game that escaped me earlier this year. I didn't actually buy this game. I borrowed it from a friend because he kept telling me, you got to play this game, it's really good. That game I'm going to talk about today is NieR Automata, which I have a copy of it right here in my hand. NieR Automata is a game from the company Platinum Games. They make a lot of the Devil May Cry third-person action adventures. They made arguably one of the best games of last generation, and at some point I will put it on the Xbox 360 Greatest Generation show, and that is Bayonetta, which they also did make a sequel for that for the Wii U. But that was one of the best games of last generation. It was straight up a Devil May Cry clone. And this game in particular, what makes it stand apart from some of the other games that they've done recently is the bullet hell aspects of this game. So not only is it a third-person action adventure game where you're, the typical running around using different swords, and it's a very action-heavy, combo-heavy game, but it doesn't lean into combos as much as, say, a Bayonetta or a Devil May Cry or something like that. There's not really a counter on the screen when you're hitting enemies. You're not trying to build up a combo meter. It's not that kind of game in particular. But the part of this game that blew my mind and really grabbed my attention is how much bullet hell styling is in this game. So on this channel, I don't know if you've ever seen, and I will do an episode of the Greatest Generation that involves all of the bullet hell games that came out in the 360, because there were actually quite a few. Bullet hell games are some of my favorite types of games. It's something I always enjoyed growing up. One of the first ones I played as a kid was a game called Life Force for the original Nintendo. And ever since I played that game as a kid, I fell in love with that kind of game, and I fell off of that genre for a long time and recently got back into it, maybe 2014-ish. And there's some of my favorite games that you can get. This game combines that with third-person action adventure, and it just creates a unique and different game that you're not used to seeing. And that's what I appreciate about it. This game starts off incredibly where you're in kind of a mech suit, and that's another big aspect that drew me into this game is you're a character, and we'll get to the character and the story of the game, but you're a typical third-person action character where you're running around, you're using a sword, and you're doing that kind of stuff. But then there's also a mech suit you get where you can fly it kind of like an airplane, but then you can also turn it into a flying Gundam style thing where you're shooting as well. All of that stuff is excellent. It works really well, and I'm happy to see a big budget studio like Platinum Games make a game that has bullet hell mechanics in it, because it's not something you see every day. You hardly see this in a AAA title, and that's what I want to stress enough, is that NieR Automata is a AAA title that was put out as a AA game. But this game, I feel, can stack up to some of the better games that I've played this year, like Horizon Zero Dawn, like Persona 5. This will probably crack my top 5. It's that good of a game. So let's talk about the story of NieR Automata. NieR Automata is a really interesting game. I will be honest, there was a previous game in this series, and I'm actually thinking about going back at some point, and I will play it and do something with it on this channel. But I have the original NieR as well. I've never played NieR. I bought this a long time ago. It's been on my shelf for a long time. I've never played it. I always kind of heard about it. There are people that really speak to this game's quality, but it was a very niche title when it came out. So when NieR Automata got announced back in, I want to say 2014, I was really surprised, like, oh, they're gonna make another NieR, I guess. And there was an audience that really cared about it. I wasn't part of that audience because I just didn't know. At some point now, playing NieR Automata, I want to go back and experience the story of the original one. From my understanding, this whole series is crazy, and from everything I've read, the original NieR is taken from an ending from the video game series Drakengard, and it is a specific ending because these games all deal with different multiple endings, and NieR Automata is the same way. It is a specific ending from Drakengard, I want to say 2. I could be wrong on that, and that was the spin-off for NieR, and it is a specific ending of Drakengard 3 that sets off the events of NieR Automata. So what is the story of NieR Automata? Well, now that we've explained and established what the previous game is, NieR Automata is a little bit different. You play as an android, her name is 2B, and she's going down to the planet Earth. So what happened here is aliens attacked in a certain year. I don't have the dates written down, so I can't answer that, but it's in the future. Aliens have attacked and taken over the world, and then they kind of left, but they left these robot replicant things on the Earth that have taken over. The thing about the robots in this game is they are threatening, but they don't really look threatening, at least the little ones, the giant ones do. And the rest of humanity kind of shipped off of Earth, and they have a base on the moon now. They're part of an organization called Yorha, which I always enjoyed, like everybody saying this thing called For the Glory of Mankind. That was a part of this game I actually really enjoyed. This moon-based stuff and the story setup for this game is excellent. It grabbed me right away when I started playing the game, and the more and more I got into it, I was like, wow, I really like the story of this game. I feel it kind of falters towards the third act of the game a little bit, and it kind of gets into a territory where very anime-like, where I just was like, I don't really know. Now, I will stress enough in this review that I've only completed the A ending, and we'll get to the multiple endings and stuff later in this video, but I have not fully 100%ed this game or anything like that. I just played through the A ending, but I felt like I had enough of the pie here that I could review the entire game. Basically, the humankind is up on the moon. They've created androids, and they send these androids down on missions to the Earth because they want to repopulate the Earth. Now, there are humans down on Earth, and the humans down on Earth have like a resistance camp going, and a resistance, and you kind of help them out. You have to, it's part of your job. And in part of that, it kind of develops this interesting story where there are good robots, there are bad robots, and it deals with, you know, what does it mean to be human? It deals with consciousness being uploaded into robots from humans and androids and that kind of stuff. It's really fascinating stuff. I feel like it sets up a really interesting story, and it, like I said, in the third act, it kind of collapses upon itself a little bit in a way that I found a little disappointing and a little generic considering how great the setup for this game is. I don't feel the payoff of the end of the game is as good as the setup. However, I enjoyed this game through and through. I will say there are parts of the game that I do dislike. One of the biggest things I dislike about this game, and I don't know why this was a design choice, especially in 2017, but there is no autosave feature. The game is designed so that you have to manually save. I can't stress enough, there is at least 3 times in this game where I forgot to manually save. I died at something and lost an hour or an hour and a half's worth of progress, and that made finishing this game a little bit of a slog. It also did not help when I got up to certain boss fights in the game, particularly the final boss fight in this game and the boss right before that, that were extremely difficult. And I didn't kind of know that the game was wrapping up. If there's one thing I'll say about this game is it's not long, at least getting through the first route. It takes about 12 to 15 hours. It's not very lengthy. And I didn't know going in. I literally knew nothing about this game going in. I didn't really follow it at all. I thought I saw maybe a trailer for it, and I thought, hey, that looks interesting, but I'm not going to get it right when it comes out, kind of a thing. And because of that, I went in this game, I didn't know anything. So because I didn't know anything, because I didn't know I was kind of getting towards the end of the game, I didn't save up a lot of health items, and I got my ass kicked by the second to last boss probably at least 10 times before I finally beat it, because I simply had no healing items. I had to defeat that boss. I literally had to finish and beat that boss with no healing items and dodging everything, and it sucked really hard. But it brought me back memories of like NES and Super NES days. So that's, you know, there's a little nostalgia going on there, but whatever. So that part of the game I dislike. I think it's a bad design choice in 2017. I understand why they did it, but come on, man, it is 2017. We don't do manual saves anymore. So just know that if you're going into this game and you know nothing, and I don't want to spoil, I'm gonna try not spoil too much of this game in this review, but I will say right now, know this and be warned, there is no autosave in this game. Save as often as you can. Also, be very wary, and this is the final complaint I have about this game. The first like half hour of the game, when you first start it, you cannot save the game at all. If you die, you will get one of the shitty endings, because there are multiple endings, which we'll get to here. and you will have to start the beginning all over again. That happened to me after getting about 20 minutes in. I got to what's considered like the first big boss, and not knowing that, I was a fool and I died. I had to play through the entire intro again. Granted, I like the bullet hell stuff so much at the beginning of the game, I played through it again anyways, and I didn't really care that much. But if you're the kind of gamer who would be turned off by something like that, then just be warned as you start this game. NieR Automata has multiple endings, and it has different routes. So in Route A, which is the route I finished, you play as the character 2B. She also meets another android that's on Earth that helps you through your journey. His name is 9S, and he prefers to be called Nines, which I thought was humorous. These androids are taught in their base that they can't relate human emotion. They're not supposed to have any kind of emotion at all, but 9S has human emotion, and he shows it frequently, and 2B kind of tells them constantly throughout the game, like, we're not supposed to show emotion, stop doing that. And this game is pretty much about her, you know, going from her journey of being this stubborn, iron-hearted, you know, machine into a human that has feelings and reason and consciousness. And that's what the end of the game is, at least for me. And again, I don't want to spoil too much about the game. But what's interesting about this, so you play as 2B. If you play through Route B, which I just started, you play as 9S. And then I believe the third route, you play as a different character. I want to say her name is A2, which is an android you see in the middle of the game. And they don't really go back to her, which I thought was interesting. So there's all sorts of different endings, you know, it's one of those kind of games. I really like this game. It's different, it's unique. I think the bullet hell aspects are awesome, and they control so well. And I just think it's fascinating in 2017 to see a bigger budget game do bullet hell stuff like this, and it sticks and it works. And if you can get the bullet hell genre out to the masses this way and get more people into, like, hey, those games are kind of cool, then more people will make games like this, and that's what excites me. You know, as I said before, I'm a big fan of bullet hell games. I have several on the 360. I have a couple on the PS4. I have a couple on the Xbox One. It's a genre that I feel is kind of slowly dying, and I'm glad a game like NieR Automata brings it up and kind of makes it fresh and unique. The other aspects that I really like about NieR Automata is the music. I think the music is outstanding. It has a very interesting soundtrack, and it's an interesting game in the way that, especially one of my favorite tracks is every time you're ever at the moon base. I think it just has such a somber, like 80s electronica aesthetic to it that I really enjoy, and it's a combination of that and the combination of like the gray / beige color scheme that this game has going. Now, that will lead into one other complaint I have about the game, and that is, like, well, I do think the game looks really good graphically, and I do like the aesthetic of it. I also dislike the aesthetic in terms of color. I think this game has a very beige and gray, darkish tone to it that I feel sometimes is kind of ugly. And when you're playing the game, sometimes, like, I think it looks really good. I think it's a great game, but sometimes it made me feel like I was playing a PS3 game instead of a PS4 game. Now, the one other thing I'll say is, I have read this is a PS4 Pro enhanced game. I believe that the base version of this game runs at a resolution of 900p on the Xbox, or on the PS4 base, and then the PS4 Pro runs at a full 1080p resolution, but it maintains 60 frames for the most part. I will say that playing this game, and I played it on both a base PS4 and a PS4 Pro, in terms of visual fidelity, I didn't really notice that much of a difference, and I was really trying to look too. In terms of frame rate issues, I found more frame rate issues when I was playing on the PS4 Pro, which is really weird. That shouldn't be the case, but for some reason it was. There were definitely areas of the game where you're just kind of running and enemies are chasing you a little bit, and the game kind of chugs a little bit. And it's weird, especially for a game like this. You know, I'm not the kind of person that likes to get caught up in the frame rate issues, but the one thing that always will bother me about frame rates, you can give me a game that's locked at 30 frames or a game that's locked at 60 frames, I'm happy. That's all I want, a locked frame rate. What I dislike is when a developer says, hey, you know what, we're gonna unlock the frame rate and it can just fluctuate however you want. It's one of the reasons why I picked up the game Rime, and I haven't really played much of it because I played about a half hour. This game has the frame rate unlocked, and it fluctuates so much that it's just incredibly distracting and really hurts the performance of the game. And this is an incredible looking game too. Now they could have patched it since I bought it at launch, I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make here is, like, if you lock your frame rate, I'm happy. That's all I want. This game doesn't do that, unfortunately, and the game kind of suffers because of it, and that's unfortunate. So if I'm gonna apply a letter grade to NieR Automata, and I honestly think you should play this game, especially if you're a PS4 owner or you're an Xbox owner that also owns a PS4 and you're starved right now on the Xbox for new games, and you're playing all these great PlayStation exclusives. I feel like this is a game that was reviewed really highly, but it was kind of shoved under the rug because so many other games came out that had names to them. NieR Automata isn't a game that had a name to it, really. It had a niche audience that was really excited about it. I wasn't part of that, and that's why I didn't play it right away, but I think it's an important game. I think it does some excellent bullet hell style gameplay mixed with the third-person action-adventure gameplay, and I think it has an interesting and unique storyline that you can really sink your teeth into. Plus that music, man, it's really good. So if I'm gonna apply a letter grade to this game, I'm gonna give it a B+. I think that everything that this game offers is really well done. I think that it has some technical issues and it has some other issues that bog it down from being what I would consider a perfect game, and I don't feel any game is perfect, but it does kind of bog down a little bit, and because of that I can't give it anything higher. But I will say right now it will definitely be in my top 10 games of 2017. I liked it that much. It might crack my top 5 at the end of the year. We'll see. We're only in August and the year is starting to it's going to explode in the coming weeks here. We got some of the big heavy hitters hitting, so I like this game, B+. I think it's worth your time. I think you should check it out. I really enjoyed it. I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you're a fan of either third-person action adventures or bullet hell style games. Anyways, guys,